500, now 50, he's a better one.
Exotic animals raised by hand to be shot for sport behind high fences.
I want you off our property.
Shooting arenas with animals so tame we can approach them and they show no fear.
Can you talk to us about the auction?
No.
Tonight, the Fox Files investigates how animals are sold, shipped, and shot in Missouri, including the puppy business you've not heard about. The animal business. It's a huge moneymaker in the Midwest that's often hidden. We'll begin uncovering it with a story about what's sometimes called captive hunting.
Some compare it to hunting at a place like Grant's Farm, a preserve for wildlife where the animals are not really wild. Fox Files investigator Chris Hayes joins us tonight with a special report.
Behind this fence, you can pay thousands of dollars and get a guarantee you'll get a kill. We're traveling along State Highway Y in an area near Cook Station, Missouri, about 30 miles south of I-44 at St. James. It's a place called High Adventure Ranch, owned by a man who lives in St. Louis County. The website brags of a policy, no game, no pay, that, quote, practically ensures you won't go home empty-handed. All along the fence, we saw what appeared to be tame animals lounging. Large horned elk gathered along one section of fence. We walked right up to them without seeing them flinch, even though a large camera rests on the shoulder of photographer Dave Sharp. The elk remain unfazed, standing less than 30 feet away.
That is akin to shooting a cow. Good boy, man.
Ask just about any hunter, and you'll get a consistent answer about this kind of operation.
It's not a hunting operation. It's just a high fence operation to come down and shoot stuff.
Dave Hayes says most sportsmen uphold strong beliefs in a concept called fair chase. Teddy Roosevelt began the concept more than 100 years ago to save America's wildlife. It was the beginning of our departments of conservation, which now create green space with the help of hunters and the fees they pay. Many sportsmen give back on their own, like this Pike County property.
We're taking fences out and letting the grasses grow and managing the trees and, you know, just making it a better property all the way around.
Captive hunting facilities go against the concept of fair chase that many hunters believe in. According to the High Adventure Ranch website, you can find more than a dozen exotic animals in its high fence operation, from exotic rams to buffalo bison, as shown in this YouTube advertisement. On the day of our visit, we spotted this young exotic deer, just delivered by an Amish family breeder. You can see it's tagged and trying to find a way out of the fence, coming back and back to this corner of the fence. According to state regulators, Missouri has 44 big game hunting preserves like this one. Traditional hunters often say it's for rich people who want to brag, like this video documenting a captive hunt in Minnesota.
This is what we're hunting in. It's just real swampy, real thick, but it makes it a little hard to walk in.
This is country singer Troy Lee Gentry, who was busted shooting a tame bear inside a fenced enclosure in Minnesota.
That was a good shot.
He and another man admitted to the feds they created this fake video making it look like a dangerous fair chase hunt.
Now that's a bear. That thing's well over 600 pounds.
Man.
Third day in the hunt.
Gentry apologized to his fans. It costs thousands of dollars to pay for captive hunting, with large trophy packages costing more than 18 grand.
Hey, nice to meet you.
On the day we visited High Adventure Ranch, one of the operators said he had no interest in explaining his side of the story, claiming the media would not get the story right.
Because you just can't report it, and you blow it up the size of a hot air balloon and run with it. That's the reason I don't like talking to you guys, because you don't know how to word things. You know, it's the media. It ain't just on Fence Farm, it's on sports, it's on everything. The media ruins it all for everybody.
He did not identify himself, but said it's not easy hunting behind this fence because he has 2,000 acres. He said the, quote, tree huggers don't understand it's easier to pick off a deer in St. Louis County, in town and country.
I personally don't feel I need to educate people like that because they're basically morons in my book.
Well, let me tell you one of my concerns, and then you can help me, because you talked about in town and country there would be deer. But those deer, they are wild. I mean, I couldn't go up to...
Yeah, they're wild. I had a guy that worked for me lived there, and they come right up in his backyard and ate them wild deer. They are classified as wild deer, but they came right in his yard and ate out of his squirrel feeders. I mean, that's no different other than mine has a fence around it.
Okay, because what I was going to say, I mean, the animal that was right there kind of looked like I could come up to it like in a petting zoo.
Well, yeah, he just come off of a trailer. What did you think he was going to do? I mean, he don't know where he's at. He was raised on another farm, transferred to this one.
Many other captive hunted animals come from exotic animal auctions like this. Lolly Brothers in Macon, Missouri holds 4 auctions a year. You'll find everything from zebras to reindeer. Most of the cars parked outside have Texas plates. Texas is the state with the most captive hunting facilities in the country, with more than half of them. We didn't have our camera out for 10 minutes across Main Street when someone chased us down saying we're still on Lolly Brothers' private property.
Get your vehicle off here. I'm going to call the police.
Okay, so just move to the easement, you say. And who are you?
I'm not saying who I am. Who are you?
Chris Hayes with Fox 2.
I want you off our property.
Can you talk to us about the auction?
No.
Why not? He didn't care why we were there. He just wanted us far away. According to the Department of Conservation, dozens of Missouri businesses have license to operate facilities like we've shown you. Tom and Mandy.
All right, Chris. And Missouri has no laws or restrictions on captive hunting. More than half the country does.
The Humane Society of the United States backs a new federal bill that would crack down across the country. One of the main opponents is a group called Safari Club International that recognizes captive hunting kills as trophies. The group prefers the term preserve hunting and credits the high fence operations with saving some near extinct animals by breeding them for the sport.
And coming up, talk of mass puppy graves tied to the animal delivery business.
And it's all right here in the Midwest.
The big business of puppy distribution. We're going to give you an inside look at the heart of the pet shop pipeline here in southern Missouri.
Missouri is not only the center of the dog breeding world, it's also the hub for puppy distribution.
It is a side of the animal business many people don't know about because the puppy delivery trucks don't advertise what they're carrying. Chris?
Mandy, take a look behind the scenes along with clues about how many puppies may die before they make it to store shelves.
This is one example of how puppies are transported thousands of miles across the country. It's a van capable of carrying dozens of animals. And here's an example of where the trip begins. A nondescript warehouse off a major highway in southwest Missouri. A small company that no one's heard of in Neosho. Then a few miles away, a massive pet distribution headquarters that even includes a church on its campus. It's called Hunt Corporation, and it is the town of Goodman. Barb Schmitz tracks animal cases for the Humane Society of the United States.
Missouri has become a place that is exporting its misery. And the people who are interested in buying puppies are all over the country. But there clearly is a market in places like New York, California, Florida.
Federal inspectors cited the Hunt Corporation after catching up with one of its trucks in Florida. This 2009 inspection cites dogs that are unaccounted for. But inspectors do not follow up to see whether those dogs were euthanized. No one compiles those records, and it's not required that breeders and transporters account for dead dogs.
All that seems to be done is to track the number of animals that are sold so that a fee can be calculated and the license for that facility can be maintained.
The Missouri Department of Agriculture confirms it does not track dead puppies. Documentation from the Department of Natural Resources, or DNR, give us a hint about the possible vastness of animal casualties. This may be the only documentation that can shine a light on euthanasia connected to the puppy business. And this only exists because dead puppies were reportedly buried near water, which DNR is sworn to protect.
In the report from 2003, state inspectors documented mass graves and estimated between 1,000 to 2,600 pounds of dead puppies buried each year by a breeder arm of the Hunt Corporation. If they were puppies and not adult dogs, that could amount to 300 puppies buried in that year. We wanted to get an inside look, and we did not expect to be welcomed based on our questions and our past experience with checking on Missouri breeders.
I wouldn't do that.
Before visiting Hunt Corp, we checked on a small distributor called PetX just off Highway 71 in Neosho. We heard about PetX from a former driver who reported to Fox 2 that he drove a truck with a dead dog through the state of Arizona.
We've got so many of them coming back.
Owner Chris Fleming was not expecting us, but welcomed us. He said he recently decided his industry does need cleaning up, and part of that means being open.
5 years ago, we would escort y'all.
And so you had some kind of a reawakening.
It was. I mean, it's what we do is a good thing.
Fleming said people will always want purebred dogs, so he might as well try to provide the service the right way.
If your feelings are to only adopt, there's a need for that out there. But there's also, I'll say, just like the family unit. Don't have kids. Why are you having kids when there's kids out there to be adopted?
So he showed us around.
This was a truck that had pups on it. There's not a horrible smell.
He said this about his previous driver's complaint.
They had picked up a deceased dog from a store in California, a store that we as a distributor don't deal with. They had picked up this dog. They had called and said, hey, we've got this on the truck. Myself and the transportation manager kind of lost our mind.
He agreed it sounds bizarre, but said he's backed by agricultural inspectors who followed up. Here's that report which says no non-compliance.
Can you really make money and do things right?
I'll say you can take care of yourself and do things right. You're not. This isn't a business that you're going to make a lot of money. It's not a business you're going to make a lot of money in. It's a business that we do because everybody that works here and works for us truly enjoys what they do.
He makes his money by buying puppies, then reselling them. He had a room full that he did not allow us to show on camera because he said a dog in a cage will always look sad. But he let us walk around freely off camera. And the room was clean, the cage is large enough for animals to spread out, and the puppies looked happy and healthy. Part of his success, he says, is his willingness to criticize his own industry.
I wanted to be proud of what we did.
So he says he does his own random inspections. Our next stop, the Hunt Corporation, just a few miles south in Goodman. It looks like an outlet mall for dogs with signs saying, I love my puppy, a learning center, a church, and the distribution arm tucked away behind this fence. A much different reception here at the Hunt Corporation, where I walked into a reception area that was decked out with rainforest decor and had live birds that would squawk as I approached the desk. Yet with dozens of employees around and the owner present, the receptionist said no one was available to decide whether we could come in, despite the fact the website says free tours. Goodman's police chief then pulled up to explain how the Hunt Corporation is constantly under attack by animal rights groups. The mass puppy grave reports were first uncovered by the Humane Society of the United States, also known as HSUS. We confirmed the document's authenticity with Missouri DNR. Tom and Mandy.
Chris, thank you. HSUS is one of the most visible critics of the animal business. The group backed Missouri's puppy mill bill.
Many legislators went after HSUS in return. Coming up, we'll take those accusations right to the top in our report on the animal business.
The main player in the fight against animal abuses is the Humane Society of the United States, also known as HSUS. It is the same group who pushed Missouri's new puppy mill law, which was later gutted by legislators.
Some Missourians paint HSUS as a radical group out to take over agriculture across the country. Chris took a closer look at this group and went all the way to the top.
Do you want people to become vegetarian?
This is a common accusation thrown at Wayne Pacelli, head of the Humane Society of the United States. Dog rescuer Gail Fry accuses HSUS of being driven by money. Her complaint came after the group raised about $1 million off this ad about a dog she rescued.
I was at work and a friend of my husband's emails him and says, hey Dave, look, HSUS placed Faye. Because I thought Faye was at your house.
She took in Faye after the 2009 federal pit bull raids in Missouri and Illinois. She gave Faye a home, paid for facial surgeries, then saw a national ad that HSUS saved Faye.
It hurt quite a bit. First of all, no one said anything to me. Faye was in my possession, in my home, with our rescue group. We were taking care of her, but no organization, and especially HSUS, bothered to contact us to say we would like to use your dog in our fundraising.
HSUS later passed on about $5 grand to Fry, who said that covered about half of what she spent on the dog. HSUS President Wayne Pacelli offers no apologies for the campaign. He says the ad about Faye was not misleading because he says his group pushed for stronger laws that led to Faye's rescue.
It would have never happened because that law would have just sat there in weak form and never been used.
This is Pacelli testifying before Congress.
U.S. attorneys have told us they're reluctant to pursue cases because it's a misdemeanor.
Congress then passed the Animal Fighting and Prohibition Enforcement Act of 2007. President George Bush signed it into law. The law was used on the ground during the dog fighting stings in 2009. Next, HSUS aimed at Missouri's dog breeders, pushing the puppy mill bill. Breeders fought back. This YouTube campaign by a group called Missouri Farmers Care paints HSUS as extremist.
When you can't debate the issues on the merits, you try to scare people.
Pacelli said his biggest critics are the animal abusers they're going after. So what about criticism from dog rescuer Gail Fry? Pacelli said he admires her efforts, but says HSUS's mission is different.
It would be very difficult to rescue 200,000 dogs. That's why you want to get at the root cause of the problem. You don't want to just rescue puppy mill dogs once they're injured or ill or confined for their entire lives because they've already suffered.
That's what he says Prop B was about. Opponents went after Pacelli personally.
I've heard people say you want to eliminate companion animals.
You know, it's just ludicrous. My two cats obviously would disagree with that very strenuously. I've had animals my entire life.
Here's how he responded to accusations he wants to force people to be vegetarian.
I'm not out preaching about vegetarianism ever. I talk about treating those animals better and stopping acute abuses. But we're a very diverse organization. I love it that we have vegetarians and vegans among our members, but I also love it that we have inveterate carnivores as members. We're a Big Tent organization.
Coming up, dog rescue groups say they're being punished for saving the lives of dogs.
We'll tell you about a new fee imposed on shelters and every dog they save.
Dog shelters now have to pay new fees. It could cost thousands of dollars a year for rescue groups.
Rescue groups who say they already struggle to pay their bills. Chris Hayes found the fees appear to have been slipped into other legislation right when shelters were pushing the now altered puppy mill bill. Chris?
And many shelters look at it as punishment for trying to raise the standards for dog breeders. Breeders would often complain during the Prop B fight, why shouldn't the shelters abide by all the same standards? And it was never something the two sides could agree on. Shelters admitted they would sometimes have cages smaller than would be required under Prop B, but defended it because their mission is to rescue dogs rather than profit from them.
But legislators added this fee to treat the rescue groups the same as breeders.
Yes, and bill sponsor Tom Lerner told me that rescue groups shouldn't be given a pass just because they're doing something good. He told me the fee is to pay for inspections. Rescue groups are inspected just like everybody else, so they should pay a fee. Governor Jay Nixon, who signed it into law, won't even talk about it, claiming he can't because of a lawsuit by some shelters, including Stray Rescue of St. Louis and the United States Humane Society.
Now, the lawsuit claims that this new shelter tax was slipped into a bill that really had nothing to do with animals.
Yeah, very interesting. SB 795, which we'll link on fox2now.com for you to read to yourself, along with a version of the bill which originally had to do with blasting.
Interesting, very interesting, eye-opening to all of these different stories. Chris, thank you very much.
And if you want to keep the discussion alive, join Chris 24 hours a day on his Facebook page, Chris Hayes on Fox 2.
And the news continues right now on the News Edge with Sandy Miller.